Right, my last game here of Virgin Queen, I was hoping to, get an exploration of it under the lens of having played Tanto Monta and kind of come up with a means of dealing with this game. And to be fair, I think I did that more with Here I Stand to begin with as well, hey, let me play it more like I would an EU game and not worry so much about, the deep competitive aspects. Let those kind of emerge instead and not really worry, just try to come up with, strategies, etc. Kind of on the fly and kind of let myself be buffeted by events, etc. Which is how I prefer to play games in general anyway. But my knowledge of Here I Stand as an intensely competitive game, similar to the coin games, have led me to approach both this and Time of Wars, perhaps with a little, and even at the beginning with Tanto Monta, perhaps with a little bit too much of the, I've got to be able to, try to keep the balance of victory points and everything to keep a game from going unbalanced too quickly. Well, that sort of didn't work, because in this game there's a big buddy, and that is the Spaniards. They have a shit ton of points. They can't win the game right away off points, but they only need 3 more keys net to win the game. Now, they're in a position where the Netherlands probably is going to revolt. They're in a war with the Ottomans. They're in a lot of, they've got a lot stacked against them in their position. But the Holy Roman Empire decided to join in on the war with the Ottomans for perfectly valid reasons. Their cards weren't terribly great for it, but they looked and said, hey, I can take Budapest, and if the Spaniards can distract the Ottomans heavily enough, things go kind of well. Well, instead, the Ottomans focused all their effort against the Holy Roman Empire. Now, to be fair, the Empire isn't doing so bad. Like I said, there's 3 keys that the Spaniards needed to gain. Well, the Empire only needs to gain 4. But 4 is a lot harder. They have a couple near them, but they'd have to get quite far down on the Ottomans and gain a lot of territory. The Spaniards also were helped by some serious luck in terms of a naval battle that allowed them to conquer territories over here. Maybe some misplay by the English in terms of supporting a Protestant revolt, but that was a card that the English were lucky to have, But what it all ended up generating was a situation where the Spanish were able to get the automatic military victory, which they are eligible for in turn 1. There's one thing that I cheated. Somebody pointed this out, and I had kind of remembered it, which is, in the main scenario, neither of these 2 wars may be ended in the turn 1 negotiations. There's a starting war between the Ottomans and Spain. That was not ended, but there's one that starts between France and England. I thought I had read that. What I was expecting, though, was when I looked at the exceptions to peace, I don't know where the diplomacy is. Here we go. We've got a number of restrictions, etc. There's a specific exception here. 2 powers may agree to end a war. Exception. Once they have gone to war, Spain and England may never agree to peace. Great. But there's no such exception for the first turn wars. Now, this may be something that applies only to this scenario. The tutorial scenario, let me see if there's any wars or what. There's a shit ton of special rules. Just what you want, right? Like, I don't know. Some of them are limiting the map. But here, They have further limitations on diplomacy, so it kind of makes sense. And then the tournament scenario, we have a couple of wars. Neither of these two wars may be ended during turn 3 negotiations. First turn of the scenario. I really think there should be a reminder in the rulebook under the exceptions for ending a war in the diplomacy stage. It didn't have a hell of a lot of effect on play, though. France and England would have been fighting over Scotland and not able to conduct as many things that were kind of pleasing to them, but it had no impact on that early end, so I'm okay with it. I actually feel like you should be able to negotiate an end of a war on that first turn. It's sort of a suggestion to have that war there, because in any other turn, no matter what caused the war, you would be able to end it. And you could functionally end it by simply making an agreement, a gentleman's agreement. The one thing you couldn't do is end up allied with your previous enemy in that turn. Normally you could end a war and also ally, if I recall correctly. So there's that. Anyway, we're all set up. I am going to endeavor to play this again to see if I can learn the thing I want to learn. I can't guarantee I'm not going to make the same kind of mistakes. Although the HRE did kind of learn, hey, maybe I'm not really ready to face the Ottomans yet. Maybe I need to wait until they're in a more weakened state and not just count on their war with Spain to divert their energies and let me take a couple of things up here, But I really do want Budapest. That's an important location. I get victory points off of having 3 areas in Central Europe, Prague, Vienna, Budapest. And if I don't have those 3, I'm giving up victory points, and it looked like a really good way to get them. And I could still make the same decision because Spain now knows, or not Spain, the Ottomans now know the danger of moving their entire force up to compete with the Holy Roman Empire. But on the other hand, they thought they could beat the Spaniards back navally, and they should have been able to. Or you could argue that they thought that. I was looking at the situation and saying, I don't see how Spain's going to be able to intervene and have much influence on this war, and the HRE is going to be thrown on the skids, basically, to continue fighting. They would be in a lot of trouble. And so I'm really not sure anybody made any serious strategic mistakes. Now, it's going to depend on the cards that are dealt out as to whether the HRE follows that same pattern. I think I really liked certain aspects of it. This is not chosen yet, but choosing to support the Protestants, which will limit the Spanish points, and open up with an initial effort to aid the Spaniards in their war against Turkey. That didn't feel terrible. The only thing that I think felt bad about it is I'm not really convinced. Like, if the Turks move against me, I can't handle that. And it may be in their best interest to do so. So I may be best off just waiting. Do some patronage and the like. And, of course, we'll see the Anglo-French War on this one. All right. I don't know how quickly I'm going to be going, but part of the reason I'm doing this is I'm in the midst of a good book. I don't feel like reading a lot of rules to a new game. And, I spent a lot of effort to set this up and to re-skim the rules, which wasn't all that terrible an effort. But but setting it up was a fair amount of time. And I mean, reading was more time, but somehow it doesn't feel like the same effort. And then to have it just end after one turn felt like I didn't really get the answer I wanted, although I kind of did, which is that, yeah, we're going to be in a lot more danger of ending the game automatically if I play this way. And I think that happened to me, and here I stand as well. But, you know, I tried doing this the other way right from the start, and it just didn't work for me. It's like Monday morning now, and it's supposed to be an okay day. I don't think I'm going to cut wood. I got up at like 3:30 a.m. Only a few hours of sleep total, maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and I think I need more. We'll see later. But I convinced myself. Mainly, I've been wasting time all Sunday. Whatever. Raid has been demanding, as the other game, and so I started the diplomacy phase, or I did the diplomacy phase, and a little different from last time. The HRE did not like their cards enough, and having learned a lesson of how potent the Ottomans can be, decided I'm not going to go in with the Spaniards in this war. I'm not cheating this time, so England and France are at war. Wow, I'm getting that buzz again. It's like resonance from my voice hitting my glasses and making them buzz. Spain has a bigger treasure marker this time. Last time it was a 1.1. But yeah, HRE is not going to join in on the war. Nobody's got any real diplomacy that they want to do except the marriages. Philip and Elizabeth decided to keep going with their marriage, same as last time. You know, it hurts Philip to get rid of it. He's the most eligible bachelor, so it's not a bad choice for Elizabeth. And here's the problem, and this works for the next one as well. The best you kind of get off of these is 2 victory points, okay? That's off a really powerful roll. 2 dice plus current ratings of bride and groom. I would have to get a 10 or higher to get that with these guys, right? If I'm looking at these two who chose to go together, largely because Spain's in the lead in this game, and they're the only other 2-point male that was available. I could put Charles II of Austria, but that would both be Habsburgs, so we wouldn't get as much bonus. And I'm willing, I'm willing to deal, right? Hope some female comes along. Elizabeth, still nobody's willing to go for her, because here's the thing: you have to offer something for her. You can't, like, England is not going to just say, oh yeah, I'd like Elizabeth to marry. That wipes out their good card. So you have to give something up to force them to play the card. And then you roll on here, and maybe you get something okay out of it, but it's probably not any better than what you give up. And that's the same with this. What you're likely to give up to cut a deal, like let's say Anne of Saxony, let's say, well, there were 2. And nobody offered a bribe, essentially. But there were 2 that were in good quality. So let's say Don Carlos, who actually is not a great marriage choice, because he has this penalty where he rerolls his highest die for the marriage, which could conceivably work out to his benefit. Like you could roll a 4 as your highest die and then re-roll it, and it comes up as 6. But chances are it's going to suppress the value of the marriage. So he's a less a valuable choice. William of Orange is fine. He has a bonus that basically allows him to have a failed marriage attempt and just keep coming back at the same value, which is kind of potent. But let's say that, you know, the Dutch wanted to offer something. It would have to be like a card. Could be promises of future considerations or something along that line. Those don't mean anything within the game terms, though. So, you know. One difference from the last one, because the Holy Roman Empire is not coming in on Spain's side, they're deciding to go with the more balanced victory point choice. See, here's the thing. Going with the Protestant choice gives me points that are less than the Protestant points that they get for overall success, except in the most massive possibility where we both get 7. So we would be losing points to the Protestants there. Likewise with the Catholics, we would be losing points to the Spaniards in most cases where we'd get victory points for it. If we're hurting Spain enough, it might make sense to choose with the Spanish. I felt like I was helping Spain, so I wanted to promote the Protestants in the last game. But in this game, here, I get pretty decent victory points as long as I keep things kind of even. I really like that option. I think it's their strongest option overall. I just felt like I had to put a balancing factor into play. That puts me on spring deployment. And now, without the HRE declaring war on the Ottomans, no one declared war on anyone. So we just have the standard wars to begin with. And this time that's going to mean that France and England actually may contest. It may not. But yeah, that's something to consider. For the deployments, the Ottomans shifted to Salonika. Not a big difference, but it saves me a point if I'm going to be dealing with anything against the Spaniards here. It gets me closer to Lepanto if I need to get into the sea here, or I'm on the sea here. I would have been either way. Just, you know, a tiny little move. Didn't make much difference. The Spaniards put a galleon in here. How do I want to face these guys? So are there any fleets? There are no fleets up here. There are no fleets here. I could land in Rome again. I liked that move. I didn't do it yet, but yeah, I liked this positioning. Get me into a place where if I win the naval war, I can do something about it. I can do something over here conceivably, but much more importantly, I can defend my Spanish controlled areas. Okay. I just had to make sure nobody had any fleets there except me. The English deployed up to the Scottish border with a couple of strength points. Remember, you're able to create a force without a leader. It can only be 4 strength points, but that's well greater than what the French have, or whatever. Anyway, there are no Scottish troops there, so yeah. The French redeployed to Calais. They could cross the ocean if it weren't for this damn ship here. That ship is causing me issues, and I'm not able to do that. So I'm going to have to fight a possible naval battle, which is why the English put Hawkins here instead of using him as a sea captain. He's their only captain right now, but if I'm at war with France, I want to prevent France from doing bad things to me. The Holy Roman Empire, they couldn't figure out anything to do to redeploy, and the Protestants have no units on the board. That's going to put me to the action phase. I'm going to pause there, even though I haven't done anything. I moved some pieces. Yeah. taking things slowly. After the usual struggles getting started with something. Especially where I know I'm going to have to make lots of decisions on each card. Anyway, the Ottomans go first. They play a shitty 1-point card. They've actually got a weird hand. Like, they've got cards they really want, like the Morisco Revolt, but they want to play this late in the turn. Couple of decent point cards, and then their home card. But there's not a hell of a lot I actually want to do. I shifted my navy out. I think there's no interception chance there because this isn't adjacent to either of those. The Spaniards have their galleon fleet out there. And so, yeah, you know, we're just kind of piddling a point away because I don't want to spend my big home cards yet. Morisco Revolt is interesting because it could take pressure off of me. But honestly, the main thing, I'm the stronger power. I actually probably can interject myself into Spain, or into Italy, when I'm fighting Spain alone. On the other side of things, though, if the Morisco Revolt came out immediately, Spain would probably try to go deal with that. But if it's there during if it's in effect during the winter, it causes greater problems. It expands the difficulty that it causes in terms of unrest and such not, which can cut down on Spanish cards, can cause all kinds of issues. So the problem I have with Spain, though, is they have a bigger hand of cards. Spends a relatively small card to build themselves a galley, leaving those 3 CPs in reserve. Generally what you want to do in this game is keep your points in reserve as much as you can. I've already run myself into a weird card situation. I'm trying to look at the English card here. City-State Rebels. Pick a fortified space that is not under control of its home powers. That being that some places have multiple powers that could be considered the home power for it. Notably, the Protestant spaces. I think they're all that are split that way. As the target of an attack, you make a roll, and if no land or naval units remain after the revolt, then army leaders are captured. Naval leaders go to the turn track. You remove a control marker and place a control marker and one regular from your choice of one of that space's home powers. Scotland. Spaces are controlled by France because of the alliance. Where is the alliance? It's here. Okay. Now, first thing I did is I looked in the card. There's like a fact section for the cards. It's not covered there. Then I decided to look up kind of, because Scotland is a power. It is a minor power. Okay. I look here, and when I look at this controlled space, a space that is controlled by a major or minor power is controlled space. Controlled spaces for a power include home spaces that have now fallen, independent gray spaces, home spaces of other powers seized, home spaces of allied minor powers. I'm left in kind of a weird situation. Normally that control marker would say, that's not my home territory. But in the case of an ally, it feels a little weird to have this happen. I think I'm going to say it can't happen because it only has that control marker because France is allied with it. If it stopped being allied with France, those control markers would all disappear and it would become Scotland again. But there's nothing that specifically handles it, etc. It would be a neat little trick, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to advance on Scotland. I think what I'm going to do is build troops and just move in. I am adjacent, right? Hard to tell with bubble maps when the lines are covered. The English played this card, built themselves a regular unit, and moved in there. Why irregular? Well, because of the point situation. But I also had an extra point, so I used it for a naval movement. The French ended up failing in an interception here. If I had succeeded there, I would have brought another one in. Instead, succeeding in an interception up here, however, we were beaten, and our fleet is knocked up onto the turn track. The French conduct with a 5-point card, building a couple more galleons, combining with the galley at Bray, or Brest, and move into the channel. The English are outnumbered. I could have intercepted. Yeah, let me check to see if I intercept. I successfully avoided battle, but I would rather intercept if I could. I was able to intercept. So we're going to have yet another naval battle here with Hawkins facing a slightly stronger French force. Both sides take a hit, but the French are forced back. Right? That's the victory, right? It's how many hits you take, not... Let's see. That's avoid battle. Naval combat. The side which takes the most hits is the winner. In case of a tie, the defender is the winner. The defender is the non-active player, even in an interception, oddly enough. So that means the English successfully defend the channel, but, you know, there's still a die back if there's any attack. I took the hit on the galley. That can take 2 hits. It only provides 1 die. Let's have an interesting hand. They have the Holy League card in their hand, which will allow them to put points into the papacy, Venice, and roll for both of those. It's not an unappealing option, but I also have this papal bull, which automatically resolves the papacy's diplomatic state and does some things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this Holy League, I guess, to trigger it. And normally, as an event, it would give me 4 influence. And I'm like, and then cause die rolls. And while I really like the idea of using the card for Venice, especially if I'm against the Ottomans, given that I've got points, I'm going to be playing against the papacy as it stands, I want to increase my influence with the papacy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it for 5 points, in points only. And I'm going to spend 3 of those on the papacy, potentially weakening Spain on this, and 2 of them on Mercator. Now, one of the things I could do with the papal bull is pull this card back, but I don't really know if I want to do that. You know, I'm not in a situation... It's useful to have allies, though. That's the whole thing. Protestants, because Spain is in the midst of a war and in the midst of, you know, and I need to start a revolt in them, and they're in the lead and blah, 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 I used witchcraft on them. I didn't use it to throw one of their cards away. I don't care so much what I throw away. I stole a card from them. It breaks about even. I think I got a 3-point card. Let's see what it is. Yeah. But, you know, whatevers. The Protestants can play in Scotland. I think that's the only place they're allowed to play. If I wanted to do diplomacy type stuff, I probably just want it for points. But it stretches out my turn, and it takes a card from the person in the lead. The person we know can win the game on turn 1. They're not going to do it this game. Round for another round of it. It's getting close to raid time, but I actually feel like playing. Because it's raining now. I don't know. I miss my Joe Biden. His voice is useless now. The Turks spent the first point on their card to do naval movement into there. I could not build another fleet, right? Yeah, I could have built a fleet here and pushed another galleon. Is that wise? So see, I have to face the entirety of the Turkish fleet that gathers. So putting another fleet there would be useful. It would significantly increase my odds. Yeah, I'm going to do that instead. My other choices for 2-point actions, and so my card is spent. My other choices for 2-point actions would have been to move here into position where I could do the naval transfer next turn, or to do a piracy. This is not a bad location to do piracy, although the Knights of St. John fuck with it. There's like no good place for me to do piracy. You know, there's fortresses everywhere. There's a couple here. That's not too bad. Here there's 1, 2. Here there's a couple. And I would rather not, especially when I'm at war. If I don't build this extra fleet, I have like a +2 advantage to a possible Spanish interception. But the Spanish aren't going to intercept now. They may build more fleets and send them out to fight instead. Whereas before they might have chanced things at slightly lesser odds. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 8. No, this is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 it would have been. Whereas here there's 8. I really kind of don't want to fight 8. But what I don't know, and I don't know if the Turks know this either, I don't see any reason they would, is that even though the empire moved the papacy up, which is sort of a signal of that papal fleet may not be there, you know, this may be my last chance to use it. I decide to go full Lepanto and play their home card, which I don't discard, for 5 points, building them 2 galleys and sailing out. Now, you know, this would be a perfect situation where over in Tanto Monta, I could have built ships with like a 4-point card or something, I don't know, and then extended it with the 3-pointer. The 3-pointer still might be useful to me. I might want to extend this, but and what did I need with the with the card I played? Well, I built 2 ships that cost me 4, and then 1 to do the naval move. The Turks took it, took the fight, and they lost 1 galley to 3 for the Allied forces, which means the Spaniards have to withdraw. And I think I'm going to fall back to Malta instead of to Messina. I don't really. So yeah, this isn't a fortress or anything, so it's not a terribly great place to be. But you know what it does? If I'm forced out of there, it allows me to go back towards Rome or Naples, which would give them additional defensive capabilities, I guess. Okay. So the English spent a 4-point card, and this is one of those cases where I had to calculate ahead of time. 1 point to do the siege here. That siege didn't go well. A 4 strength point siege against a 1 strength point, that's an even die roll. I'm rolling 2 dice against 2 dice. Like I said, sieges aren't trivial, but I just didn't have the capacity. I could have sent another unit in. I think that would give me an extra die. I think it's rounded up, yeah. Which would have been nice, but I kind of didn't want to expose London. And I couldn't send those others in spring deployment up there. Could have built more troops, or no. But 4 strength points is the most I can send. So yeah, without a leader, you really can't siege much. That leaves me 3 extra points. Those 3 extra points, my intention was, let's build another fleet. I'm not late enough. Nothing's happened that allows me to build race-built galleons. And then I'm going to move it out. That allows the French a chance to intercept. Now, the odds aren't good for them, but if I win this fight, it's a big deal because I go next. So I'm going to take a shot at it. I don't make it, which is fine. Like, again, I would be down a die, whereas on my own turn, I can play a big card and send a bigger navy across and threaten England more heavily. I really wish I could buy lighter fluid someplace nearby. Used to be any drugstore had lighter fluid for cigarettes, whatever. It's possible to use like charcoal lighter fluid, but it burns different. And there's something called white gas, but it's like that's cheaper, that essentially works the same, but it's just it's like I just want to use the stuff that I'm supposed to use, right? And that would be even harder to get. Now I don't even know where the fuck I can get it. Okay, I know I could get it at Walmart. All right. But I used to be able to just, go down, go to my local drugstore, and they would have it. The supermarkets didn't tend to carry it. They carried the charcoal fluid. But, yeah. And I don't know. They still do, And I could fall to that. Yeah, I ordered 6 of them, right? And I got 2. I had a bottle that I was working on when I made the order, and it's about half gone already, and I'm like, fuck, man. I don't want to go through this shit again. Forceful limitations keep the French from being able to just build more fleets and just keep pumping more ships in, because their dead ship is over there. I play a 4-point card. The first point is a naval attack into here. Well, the Brits, I always roll white for the defender, end up beating me out here and destroying my 2 ships, although I do kill one of theirs, which means we're not going to make our way into England this turn with an invasion. That means I got these extra points. I'm not going to do any exploration, etc. with La Tetsu, so I'm going to put a 3-point patronization on him. And, I throw a card that would be useful against the HRE, but I'm not really interested in causing problems for him. HRE plays their mandatory Papal Bull card, which is going to resolve a diplomatic status of the papacy. Now, the way that's done is you roll a die for each power that could be involved in it. There's 3, France, Spain, and the HRE. I don't have the original dice from the game if they had like 1 or 2 per color. I don't think this one did, but I'm not sure. I pull them out and dump them in a bucket, wondering what I'm going to do with all these huge dice, but I don't know. They certainly aren't sufficient for playing out battles. They're kind of useful for other things, and I'm sure I have the colors to do all of these. If this game didn't come with it, I'm not sure I have any black dice of that size. So the HRE gets +3, Spain gets +1, France gets nothing. So I'll roll them France first. But here's the thing. When we look at the status, we got some special rules here. France adds dice when dealing with Scotland under certain conditions. The Protestants adds dice with Scotland under other conditions. Oddly enough, I don't think those are reflected here. They're not in any of the notes here, and they're not in the Scotland column. And they're really, oh, modifiers, here we go. It's up there. Okay. Yeah, there really needs to be something on that chart. I'm okay with that. But again, you know, how likely are you to, like, I wouldn't have looked down here nor here had I not looked in the rules first. So France is first, big four. Spain is next. They lose. And the last one is, I guess, the HRE at +3, who rolls a 6. So the HRE, these all flush into resolved this turn. The HRE is now going to be activating the papacy, which is going to switch it out of Spanish hands. Which follows, let's see, place an allied marker. So we're going to take the allied marker from here. This will change later. Why isn't HRE a possible ally? Oh. Wrong place. Yeah. Okay. So they're going to get the allied marker instead. I think in the order it gets removed later, but it kind of doesn't matter. I can remember. A player currently at war with this minor has choices. No one is at war with the minor. They're at war with Ottomans and Spain are at war separately, including the minor. Place square control markers. Okay. That's one of these goes over. And notably, the HRE gains 2 points for its. Spain loses 1 for the drop there. Just doing the mechanisms here in order. Remove control markers from any keys where the control marker is from the power that was eligible to activate. The Spanish were. Place hexagonal, remove control markers from any non-key where the control marker is from a major power that was eligible to activate. So these two go away and are replaced by HRE ones. I kind of like the religion on the flip side in this game. In Tanto Monta, they don't have that consideration. So here I stand, they do. So you've got, you know, different powers markers are on flip sides of things. And I find that a little bit more difficult to cope with somehow. But, you know, they're using up the full counter mix, both sides of the counter still. Remove at war markers. There aren't any at Irish rebels. There will not be any. But now the Papal Bull gets an additional. And I'm allowed to excommunicate Elizabeth. I don't give a shit. Take 7 Catholic conversions in France or the Netherlands. No, I'm definitely not doing that. Patronize an artist or scientist, or retrieve the Holy League and play it immediately. Now, the Holy League would force the papacy to be rechecked. I would almost certainly get Venice, but I believe the papacy, I'm not positive of this, because it may be that once you're checked once, you can't be checked again. All influence markers are placed in the resolve this turn. They will be reset to their default. Can only be activated once per turn. Ignore the second if such event occurs. Okay, cool. See, there were different things in Tanto Monta. In particular, the papacy had a lot of special rules regarding them. They had their own power card, etc. So the question here is, do I want to trigger the Holy League and get the Venetians on my side as well? That would put me in a kind of an interesting and strong position. I would also get another key from it, although, you know, I might not hold that. Or do I want to patronize an Italian artist for 3? I think I'm going to go with the Holy League, which I only played for points. I don't think it's impacted by event. I think it could actually be played as an event twice. And so we'll trigger this as the event, which says we gain 4 influence, dividing it between Venice, the papacy, and myself. I'll throw those into Venice. 4. And then I get a roll there where Turkey is rolling to deactivate. And Spain and France are activating on a 0. Let's take a look at Spain and France. Spain, France. Okay, France has a 6, which is pretty potent. Turkey has, but I have a big plus as the HRE. Turkey has a +2, which gives them a 5, not so good. And I have a +4, which gets me a 5. France actually gains control of Venice off of my triggering this. That was not the outcome I was hoping for. We'll go through the same mechanism in terms of placing things. France is going to get some victory points. And oh my God! Somebody better do something about France or they're about to win. This is just how they start. Damn. You know, last time I was like, well, Spain had to work really hard to get a victory. If France wins those naval battles, this game is like really in their hands. They can't do much right now. But boy, are they in a scary position. Of course, Edinburgh is under attack. They've got a card that actually can give them another square control marker, though. Shh, don't tell the other players. Isn't it funny for one of these games to have multiple powers close enough that they could actually win on that first turn? This feels a lot dirtier at the beginning than Here I Stand does. Yeah, there's, like I said, I think Turkey has a shot at it. And it's kind of like that Spanish shot. You really have to engineer it. Now, how did I blunder into it? Well, because nobody was paying attention to stopping them. But I didn't really engineer it, you know. But the French are so damn close. Damn. And I mean, who's going to just go to war with France for the sake of it, right? Especially if you're new to the game or whatever. It throws you in a position where there are definitely players who are close to the victory. Now, England's not that far either. They have 3 to gain. Edinburgh's the obvious one. But if the war with France, I don't see that as likely, but the war with France could end up with them gaining a couple. This is a game that I think has a high likelihood of ending early just because of the low number of keys you need from, depending, you know, compared to your starting position. And take a look, the HRE needs 3. Ottomans need 4. That's going to be really hard for them to do in turn 1, but I think it's possible. They got a couple here they could get, and a couple maybe here that they could get, conceivably. But things would have to be really, really odd for them to get that many. But yeah, the French, damn, just 2 that they need. And, you know, here I'm thinking Spain is in this really powerful position because their goal is to hold on to all their stuff. Now, for France, it kind of is too. because you've got the Huguenots coming as well. So like they're in a position where they're as strong as they can kind of possibly be right now. And then the religious struggles are going to tear them apart the same as they're going to tear the Netherlands apart. I feel like the French are going to win. Like, I don't see any quick option for them to win at this point. So I'm not going to trigger anything. I could like do rebellions or whatever off of just point cards and hold my big card for later, or I could use my big card against them, depending. Instead, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pay this 3-point, although holding these kind of makes sense, you know, delaying doing these, but I'd rather not have the French army able to react if I need to play it against the French heavily. So I'm going to play this, not for its diplomatic effect, but to put a 3-pointer on, you know, I could go exploring. 3 points would buy me a colony, wouldn't it? Build expedition costs 2, and then I do 1 naval move. I think I can start a colony, even though I don't have a nation. You know, some Dutch dissidents or some such. I could also instead conduct piracy against the Spaniards, but I don't really have anything that goes in favor of doing these things, except that there's these guys who are kind of useful. I'll patronize this guy for 3. Science is good. Let's... Oh, I have a better artist. See, this is worth victory points. I don't know if there's anything on the science table that I particularly want. Yeah, cryptography would be nice. Map projection would be nice. Observatory would be probably the best. Plantation would be cool, but I only have 1 colony. New Amsterdam, I guess. I don't know. I mean, Sumatra, I think they did too, though. Weird. But yeah, that's my only colony. Where'd my capital go? I should have a Dutch capital as well. I have a Huguenot capital here. Oh, there's the Dutch capital. Okay. I should keep them together. Anyway. Yeah, we'll do what I just did. And that's going to put me over to the Turks again. That's a good time for me to break here. But, you know, yeah, we're getting underway again. And it feels good. It feels good. I delay playing, even just restarting this. But it's beginning to feel comfortable in a way that I just trashed this game so badly for how painful it was feeling. And now, you know, here on what, I don't know, I guess the 3rd play or whatever, if you count that last one. But after having played Tanto Monte and gotten kind of a feel for it, I'm becoming less convinced that it can't be played as an exceedingly competitive game. You have to be more familiar with it than I was, and I think I was mistaken about this one, which is cool, actually. You know, I'm finding an enjoyment in this game that even after playing Tanto Monte, I didn't think I had, and I think I could go back and play Tanto Monte a couple of times more and feel a lot more comfortable with that as well. So I think I just hit this, you know, in a state where I was really souring on the CDGs, and I was especially unhappy with just how much more complexity this system just kept adding to it. I should replay Time of Wars. I had fun with that too, you know. Yeah, this was the only one that really, really, like, slammed me hard into the ground. And I think it was because I expected I should just be able to play it like I could play Here I Stand on the second play. And it shouldn't require me to know too much about the game. So yeah, I think this is much more viable than for a competitive game than I've been thinking. And it makes sense. There are people who do play it that way and love it that way. And I would argue Tanto Monta is probably just as capable. It's going to have a higher learning curve. They just keep getting, more and more complex and more painful. I'm back up here tonight to play another round around while Raid plays with itself. So the Ottomans opened things up by moving their army into Taranto. They haven't captured it yet or converted it or whatever, but with control of the sea area, I can just slip right in. Ran into something I expected the procedure to handle, which is these Spanish units sitting in HRE territory, the papacy. That doesn't seem legit, okay? But I looked at the activation procedure, and I placed the Allied marker, I removed the war markers. Do I ever remove the Allied marker? Am I able to activate someone who's already an ally? I thought so. The event has caused it to be evaluated. The winning power gets to activate if they're listed as activate. Okay, so there should be a deactivation. Remove all allied marker from the box. The control marker removed. Units from powers are displaced if they occupy. Yeah, okay, so that's where it is. Move land units to the nearest friendly controlled fortified space. So these guys would be here. Now, they are not a big enough force to deal with the Turks who crossed. I'm not sure I could transfer that many Turks. Uh-oh. Yeah, running into the problems of, not really memorizing all the rules. But honestly, I can't memorize them even 5 or fewer land units. Okay. That means I can't bring everyone over. So I would have been in Lepanto, and I'll reduce the amount of forces that I bring there. I knew something was screwy there. Rearrange things with a 2 move. I can bring another stack of units over. Well, 5 or fewer. Yeah, but I can only command 4 of those 5. Okay. Yeah, that's why. So I'm going to leave an infantry back at Salonika and transfer the rest of my forces over for the war as needed. Now I go back to trying to figure out what the Spanish are doing. I have a whole shitload that they can do, to be honest. I could play around with religious matters, but I feel like France is kind of my ally in trying to keep France Catholic. So I'd rather not help them with that until such a time as I'm actually able to intervene with the Catholic League or whatever it is. I don't remember if that's the Catholic League or... What was this, the Holy League? Is that what this is? Yeah. So it's the Catholic League in France, I believe. I just remembered that card, and I'm like, whoa, wasn't that? Yeah, the Guise family and all. So that's going to put me in a position where there's just, there's not much on here that I can do. My Navy I could have built another galley and gone and fought at really bad odds. I don't want to do that. I'm in danger of being attacked, but so what I ended up just doing is patronizing an artist or scientist and throwing Hedda up there and hope for the best, you know. It's just kind of I have to play something. I have a shit hand, and I don't have a very big force. This is small enough that it can take it as a siege. Maybe I'll last out the turn against the Turks. Now succeeded in their siege of Edinburgh, and they grabbed these two. Since they're at war with France, they can just grab them for a point each. So there's nothing opposing them there. And those aren't passes or anything like that. So that gets me to 3 actions off my big 5-point card that I don't really like to play, but that leaves me with the capability to hold these 2 cards. I have 2 more points left. I thought, oh, it would be cool to suppress heresy. But I looked up the rules for that, and if England does it, it can do 5 Protestant conversion attempts in England alone. I'm not allowed to do it in Scotland. Scotland can only be converted, it looks like, by the Protestants or by the French. So I can't do anything to try to fix the Scottish religion. With only 2 points left, I could move into here. I couldn't siege it. I kind of might as well hold my cards. I don't know what to do with my remaining 2 points. I don't have a captain anymore. I have John D. I guess I'll put him up as the best of my remaining options. The French want to hold their home card. It's of particular power if there's a Protestant revolt. So I don't want to play it yet. I have to play it before I can pass, though, so I can't just hold on to it as a reserve. I chose to play the Irish Rebellion, which is my stronger of my 2 possible hold cards, but I want to play it as an event. So I got 2 diplomatic influence with Ireland resolve its diplomatic status. Its status ends up being pro-Protestant. The English are going to get to keep their key, but other locations are going to end up I guess being Protestant, and I don't think it matters which you know, or no. Whoa, that can't be possible. Why do I have a Protestant marker there? No, they end up pro-Spanish. There's a Spanish marker at +1. I thought it was orange. Okay. So they're going to end up pro-Spanish. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah. An Irish Protestant revolt against the English. Oh, okay. Now it says England loses half their regulars and half their mercenaries from Dublin and Kinsdale. They only have 1. It doesn't say rounded up or rounded down. I don't recall if there's a general rounding rule in this game. Yeah, this is how. Somewhere or another we have a list of the facts of cards, all this stupid gameplay stuff. Just totally easy. Here we go. So the card is 57. Count the total number of regulars in Dublin plus Kinsdale, then have the number rounding down. They remove that number. So the English will get to keep their force there as well. Ireland is going to switch to be Spanish, and we follow the political rules for that. But then, see, as per step 6 of the activation procedure, they're allowed to move their forces. I don't know, did I forget something when I did the papacy? Or I did the papacy and I did Venice, and I think apparently both of them would have gotten some kind of capability to move. No, step 6 is add Irish rebels. So, yeah, that's specific to the Irish Rebellion. We got control of Ulster and Kinsale, but we also got a fortress in Ulster, and we got 3 Irish units. And now comes an interesting thing. If Dublin is under control of a different major power, this new ally of Ireland may immediately declare war on that major power at no CP costs. This would be Spain declaring war on England. The current CP cost to declare war must be 3 or less to allow it. I don't think it is, because nothing's happened. Starts at 5, and none of these things have happened. So we can't declare war on England yet. Finally, the power now allied with Ireland may execute a free move formation in clear action that's limited to moving a formation from Ulster to Dublin, which would then allow me to siege it or whatever, but I'm not allowed to move to Dublin. France was just trying to cause some issues, and I guess they did, but they would have kind of liked the Irish on their side, I suppose. I don't know. But now they're like a pro-French rebellion, which has pretty much succeeded. Ireland is no longer English. And Dublin is still, however. Okay, well, that's neat. I forgot about the HRE's mercenaries and how they could have used them in some sort of bidding type situation. I don't know. You know, maybe to get Elizabeth. I don't know how valuable that would be. France takes, no, Spain takes a penalty if this breaks. So, yeah, if the French don't want to take it, so they might have been able to play the two off of each other. So far, I'm over 2 on that. This is the card the HRE wants to play. If played by any other power, place 2 of your power as mercenaries in any single space. I will do that because there is nothing else I can do with it. I could do a naval move, can't get anything there. I can't build an expedition, it's more expensive for me. About the only thing I could do is build a mercenary with it. So building 2 seems like a better deal. And we'll get that. Oh, fuck. It's a neat card because it's a response card. So somebody could move into your space or whatever, and you could play this and drop a couple extra troops on them. I like my other card better if I'm in combat, though, and I'm only allowed to hold 1 card. And I'll hold on to my Patron of Arts and Sciences as sort of the final action I'm going to take. I put this over here to help remind me that I need to deal with it. I finish up the sequence, and we'll go down and see about raid, by patronizing an artist with the Protestants. Again, I could do other things with them. They have a nice card I want to hold on to, which is this 5-point War in Persia. I don't care about the event. So I'm allowed to save 2 cards. That's a 2-point card. It could be very useful, actually. It allows me to protect a fortress better that's under siege by raising some additional forces. Actually, I'll play El Dorado instead. I think this card is more useful to me. I was thinking I'm Spain. El Dorado is useful for the Spaniards because it can screw around with a sea captain who's fucking with your life, you know, which is cool. All right, that's it for this round around. The 2 big Ottoman cards, they're home cards, and they're allowed to play both of them at this stage in the game, available to me. I don't know what to do with them. You know, I worked real hard to get here. I can bring more troops in and lay siege and hope for the best, I guess. One thing that I have, though, is the Morisco card. Now, this is going to deplete my hand completely. I don't think that's going to distract the Spaniards, but I can use the Moriscos to do stuff within there. So let me see. If I move here, 1, 2, 3 to convert, 4 to here, that leaves me with an extra point. So I think I want to play my Moriscos now, even though that means I'll have no cards left. And this gets removed from the game if the unit is eliminated or if the war between Ottoman and Spain ends. I better put that in some special sort of way, because right now it's not. Oh, but I ought to read the card. Okay, now I don't think Spain has anything that cancels events. The Ottomans do. Their one home card allows them to cancel an event, if that'll help. Okay. So eliminate all land units in Granada and place Granada in unrest, but not gain control of it. And then the Moriscos show up there. See 23.1 for special rules on this unit. Woo! It may never be moved more than 2 spaces from Granada. It can never move during the winter. It's eliminated if it is besieging an enemy fortified space at the start of a winter. It actually has a chance of taking fortifications. But see, what's neat now is I can use that extra point off my card to convert Granada, if I so desire. I don't know. If the Morisco counter is in a Spanish home space at the start of any winter phase, the Ottoman player places unrest markers on 2 unoccupied spaces within 2 of the Morisco. The problem that I have, though, is when winter comes, it doesn't look like it. Oh, it never moves during the winter phase. I guess it stays wherever it is and doesn't have any problems. Because normally you have to withdraw in the winter. And I'll keep that card available there. This opens up a new problem for the Spaniards, right? It's not too big a deal, but yeah. Doesn't feel like there's a whole hell of a lot they can do. I could have built a bunch of mercenaries, I guess. I'm hoping to be able to end the war somehow, though. So I played the Scurvy, built myself 1 there. That gives me 2 cards that I can hold. Neither one's terribly good. I'm spending the 3 points to elevate an artist. This has to be done randomly. I didn't get to choose. Did I choose anywhere? I did not. Good. And I got Titian there. This goes here. This goes here. I just don't feel like there's much I can do. You know, I've got this potential siege. I could have built my last galley and come out with 8 ship points to 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't seem terribly valuable. And I'm not really worried about siege, although it is possible that the Ottomans have some kind of card that would help them. I could actually ask to see the backs of their cards, and I know they do not. It's down to 2 normal cards. They choose to pass. They've succeeded in their siege. They don't think they can take Perth in any easy fashion without depleting their cards a great deal. Maybe we come to peace with France, whatever. Although France is a little pissed at losing Edinburgh, but that's okay. What did we gain? We gained Venice, that's why. So I have 2 cards left for the French. The Homeland Uprising, which I'm thinking of holding just for a card. There's not much I can do with the French right now. So I think I'm going to play the Government of France card. Points sounds good, but I think I'll just add the wedding festivities to this. there it is, to my marriage here. And it's possible maybe I talked to Spain and said, look, you know, I'm going to boost this. You really want this wedding. Right? No, Spain's the one who maybe didn't, who maybe should have had to pay something for this. But it's hard to justify what you might pay. All right, and looks like we're going to get our treasures at least. That puts us over to this. And the Empire, see, they have one, they can draw 2 cards from the deck and then give a card from out of your hand to another player. This might be good if you have some sort of alliance or something, but in general, you're not going to get as good a card as this. I'm going to use this for the patronage. I get to select a specific person. I could go for a scientist, but I already have one. I'll take this guy, and he's placed as if I have a 3CP patronage there. One thing that I noted earlier is that if you're putting, and maybe it tells you to do this, it should, if you're putting Italians on there, they're not associated with your color. You got to put some kind of marker on them to indicate that. And then I get the additional bonus of a card from the deck, which means I'll be going another turn. Council of Troubles, what's this? Removed from deck if played as an event. Playable if 5 land units controlled by Spain or in the Netherlands. Remove William of Orange from the map for the rest of the turn. Spain gets lots of conversions. Well, see, now I have to decide, I don't have to do it right now, but I have to decide whether I want to keep the Elite Troops card, which is a good battle card to have as my reserve, or if I want to play, or if I want to hold a big 4-point card for next turn. It's a hard choice. The 4 points I can use in either turn fine. The battle card I definitely will not be using this turn. I've got no wars I'm involved in. I had forgotten about it. It hasn't affected me yet, but I was looking up the religious because the Protestants are going to play the Calvinist zeal. And I think they're going to do it for religious conversion in both the Netherlands and France. Gives them 7 conversions rolls on each, which feels more powerful than doing the rebellion. So what I don't want to do right now is the rebellion in Spain. France may be more of a danger than Spain right now, but I figure let's set both up as well as we can and see what happens from that. But I ran across core presence. During the course of the game, the religious influence spaces in each of the 4 regions of struggle swing back and forth between Catholic and Protestant. However, under no circumstances can any action or event ever remove the final Catholic space or final Protestant space from an area. Okay, so I'm like, oh, areas. Well, I know I've got the 3 big ones, but wait a minute. Well, actually, there's England as well. So let's look at these. I've got England, France, the Netherlands, and Scotland. I wonder if there's conversions in Germany. It may be that the, I don't remember. But things kind of became fixed in Germany by the ruler. And so I would think that territories are unlikely to change religion there. And obviously Switzerland, yeah, that's not going to change particularly. So there's not as much religious flexibility as there is in Here I Stand, because there's only 4 areas, but one of them is Scotland, which is, I was playing around with the idea of doing conversion attempts there. I couldn't convert it all anyway. Anyhow, how does a conversion work? We did one before. Yeah. So we're going to get 7 dice. One's a 6, which allows a major conversion, which we can use either against troops or to expand our area. Netherlands, and it's actually kind of hard to convert the Netherlands, the way the terrain is, with things like Brill, just off of Rotterdam. And this is a special, and Ghent, the Ghent to Flushing is as well. These are special transitions. I think they work fine for religious, but I don't remember what their special case is. Maybe we ought to look that up. Would have expected it to be here. Okay. They're not passes. Passes are the dashed lines, right? These little guys. But not these, which look similar to them. Those divide up the sea zones. Two connections on the European maps are neither normal nor passes. They're inland waterways with a squiggly line. Only a power that controls the normal port may use this path for movement, intercept, avoid battle line of communication, or computing the nearest space. However, they're connected for conversions. Okay. Anyway, my die rolls, here was my automatic 6. Here's what I got. I got a second 6. I got a total of 4 conversions and an unrest. Here's the unrest. But it's kind of tricky because all I have is this. This is the only Protestant area I have. It's going to take 6s to convert either of those. And I think that's actually what I want to do, but I can't do them as expanding my territory, which means the other 2 will have to be here. And kind of guaranteed. And then I pick one of the 4 new spaces to be an unrest. I don't know what unrest is really going to do for me. I don't particularly want to put it near him, though. I know that much. That's what we got there. Now, there is an argument for putting one of these into unrest, and if Spain had no cards left at all, I would definitely be considering it much more heavily, because it would mark one of these as out. They'd lose victory points, no big deal there, but they'd lose a card for next turn, which would be a nice effect. You know, they're allowed to keep 2 cards, aren't they? They are. I think I'm going to put this into unrest, actually, just because it either costs them a card next turn or it costs them a card now and forces them to do something. And I'll do the same over in the Protestant, in the Huguenot France area. Got a bunch of major conversions, and I guess I could play with them more interestingly. Like I could drive down in the south more. Yeah, because all I got are majors, which means I can kind of chain things. I guess I don't need to put the dice out this way if that's the case. Yeah. Didn't get any unrests, but we converted a whole bunch. And oh shit. Now I don't know how to count. Fuck. Okay, here I got 1, 2, 3, 4 additional. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 additional Protestant spaces, which puts us up to 27. We went from here to here, so Spain lost 2 victory points. England gained 1. And the Dutch gained 2. Or the Protestant power as a whole. This should really be split color. Because when it's orange, it is clearly the Dutch to me. Obviously. Trying trying to decide if I want to just fire off another card. Yeah, let's keep going. We gather our forces, lay siege to Naples, convert Granada. We converted this as well. And now the Spaniards have lots of problems, all cropping up all over the fuck. His response is, of course, to pass. Because Philip wants to hold 2 cards. He just doesn't feel like there's anything he can do. England will also pass. France is in an interesting position. They could pass. They have this card, but they have the Homeland Uprising. There's a couple of things they could do with it. One, they could completely fuck the Ottomans over, like to the extent that they would have to do something to convert that, because I could make an uprising there that would it would put an unrest marker, which is sufficient to cause issues. And I could put additional problems on the Spaniards somewhere. I can't do it in the Netherlands. I could also do it up in Scotland, but none of that sounds very appealing to me. The Empire is only allowed to hold 1 card. Ugh, I don't know which one I want to hold. Kind of the reasons I discussed, I think I'm going to play this 4-point card, because the 2-point card is useful for the event. I don't want this event, right? But the 4-point card would be nice to withhold. And one of the thoughts that I had is, oh look, I can do something kind of cool with the Empire. I could build this, drop it in the Guinea coast. It's allowed to start there, and do an immediate piracy and get something. But he's not a very good leader for this. It might get me some victory points or something, but right now I think I have something better to do. I can throw all 4 points into this artist and give him a shot. He's my last counter, so I don't have to roll or anything. Yeah, I could build troops or something, but I don't know. It's hard to justify building an army in this game, especially when you're already kind of looking at things and saying, I don't know. Although, there is Buddha, very appealing. I can't do anything about it this turn, but next turn I could set myself up for a war. But you know, if the Turks are in enough trouble, I've got a decent sized force ready already. So, how about the Dutch? The Dutch have 2 cards. They're allowed to hold 2 cards. I do not believe they wish to play either of these now. I don't think I'm going to gain anything tremendously powerful, although if I started revolts in both of these, I could conceivably be getting some cards. But that was not in my plan. So we push it over to the Ottomans. I am going to break there, but as you can see, with the amount of passes we're looking at, 4 of the 6 players passed. The HRE is about ready to pass as well. Really, it comes down to the Ottomans have to play their home card. Why don't I do it? Fucking hell. Because my pipe is empty and my coffee is low. But yeah, I'll come back up and do it right away. And we might see some impacts from doing that, where like Spain needs to react to what the Ottomans do. Like, I don't know to what extent. Like if they fail their siege roll, which is very, very likely, like this siege looks really, really unlikely to happen. If they fail their siege roll, well, then there's nothing exciting happening, depending on what they spend their other 4 points on, but whatever. They may go in and blast these boats or something. You get an extra die for defending in a port, though. What else? You know, I could try to do some religious shit, but I don't think I can win on all. Like, as long as I'm tied down in an Ottoman war, I just don't feel like I can fight the religious struggle appropriately. I want to get out of this war, but I want to get out of it without paying a heavy cost is the problem. Which, if the siege succeeds, I don't have enough force to really do anything about it. Just played a game on the Ottomans taking this stuff. I think that's from a slightly earlier period. 1559. What was it? It was not Piacenza. Oh, it's El Gran Capitan. This is an earlier period. More in the time period, I think, of the Here I Stand side of things, where you do see the Turks invading Italy more easily. I should probably be doing something like trying to take Malta or something, not trying to take Naples. Like, there are less troops here, and the Turks really want Malta, but they are supposed to take Cyprus first. Yeah, they would have taken Rhodes already. Huh. Yeah, Malta would be the next step. Yeah, I think I erred. I think I should have landed here and conducted my siege here. That would have been advantageous compared to that, but I don't know. It was insane of me to siege Naples. That did not work. I lost a couple of units. I decided to spend the extra 4 all on my scientist. And that way I can start digging the Suez Canal or something like that. Wow. The map gets really weird about here. It's weird enough up there, but it gets really weird there. I think everybody's going to pass. By the way, I'm always flipping into the rules to get the information that's on here. There are some places, most of the rules I do need to like kind of skim through before I do still. But for the combats, they're common enough to the series that I don't mind doing that. That is going to put me then at, let's find the sequence apply, the winter phase, which I am not going to cover right now. I'm going to go downstairs and play a little bit more raid, whatever. There's reasons for me to play raid right now, just in terms of like expending energy and whatnot, but there's sort of a weird clan event that doesn't really align with any of the rest of the game. It's just sort of it's a clan versus clan fight, but it's not just, you know, do stuff, which is the older style event. And it means that I have to, you know, pick off a fight here and there, just like an actual fight against enemy forces. And it usually doesn't make a lot of sense for me to do it right away. And that's going to start at like 2 or 3 a.m., I guess. But at midnight, which is coming up pretty soon, I have to take quests for the week or whatever. And if you don't grab them early, well, you don't get good picks. And we got a couple of people who are taking too many of the good picks instead of like delaying that. I also got my little security keys, and they work and all, but I haven't actually, you know, set them up to use yet. I did learn something kind of cool, which is one of my important accounts. I don't like when sites force you to take certain security questions, because they're like things that everybody should know, right? And unfortunately, some of them are researchable, or other people would know the answer to that. So I'm like, okay, apparently I lied on one of them. I got lucky enough to guess what I lied with. But I like to be able to set my own questions, right? And, you know, as long as the question and the answer have a certain complexity to them, that's a lot safer. But, you know, if you can set your own question, people, like, I guess, want to be able to set their own answer or something. I don't know. But it's like stupidly, it's really stupid when some important thing, like a financial institution or whatever, asks you something about family names or something like that, who a lot of people will know. Or things like, you know, your first car, your pet, all this kind of stuff that's commonly used. It's like, yeah, bullshit with that, man. So I make up answers, but then I forget that I made something up. But once I realize that I may have made it up, then I'm like, oh, I bet you I did this, and twisted it in a certain way. But it's just such bullshit that they give you, you know, things that are researchable, right? The first thing in the winter phase is the Morisco Revolt. Now, I think I misread this. So what does it say here? It says, place Granada into unrest and add the 2-strength Ottoman counter marked as Morisco on the space. See 23.1 for usage of this unit. Then it says place unrest markers on 2 unoccupied spaces within 2 spaces of Granada. That I did not do. I thought that was something that happens here. Causes unrest in home spaces. See, it's weird. It's weirdly stated. So it says C23.1 for usage of this unit, which doesn't really tell me much, right? And then after that, it says place unrest markers on 2 unoccupied spaces within 2 of Granada. Like, let's see what this says. Spread Morisco unrest, 20.1. That's something different. Maybe this will tell me. Because, like, the way I read it at first was that only Granada ends up in unrest. Okay, but this just says C23.1 for usage, and then it continues on. So let's see what this says. If Morisco unit is in play, the Ottoman player places unrest markers in 2 unoccupied spaces within 2 of the unit. So I think this should have generated 2 more unrest markers in unoccupied spaces within 2 of Granada, which, what's in unrest? That's in unrest, okay. Which means I can't hit like Madrid, but I could hit Seville, and that's another one of these. Uh-oh. I don't know how many victory points I have for Spain anymore, right? So I should have 8 and 4 is 12. I think I didn't count either of these hits. So this should be there. I've got to remember, I got these like temporary points, you know. But I think there were 2 already in play at this point. And I'll put one here. That's also within 2 of Granada. And now, that's from the card play. If the Morisco counter is in a Spanish home space at the start of winter, the Ottoman player puts unrest markers on 2 unoccupied spaces within 2 of the Morisco unit, which is an additional 2. Now, it doesn't say Granada was supposed to be on unrest. Oh yeah, it does. Okay. Okay, so I got 2 more, which I can put here, and I'll put in Gibraltar. I'm just creating a mess of unrest all over the place. All right. Now, here's another problem. I think this card gets reshuffled into the deck and removed, like, oddly enough, it's like a weird 2-point card that's in the deck. I think I'm just going to leave it out. See, that doesn't even make sense. Like, what it says here is remove card from the deck and Morisco unit from the game if the unit is eliminated. I think this card goes back in the deck, gets reshuffled back in, but obviously I couldn't play this again because it would be removed from the deck and the Morisco unit from the game under the conditions that would take it. So it's like, put this boned 2-point card in the deck for next turn, and I mean, it has no event on it anymore, which is just weird. Anyway, I may just leave it out of the deck and just leave it as a reference to handle this, because that 2-point card doesn't make a lot of difference in the deck. And I can't see, it's not going to be able to do this again. There's only 1 Morisco unit on the board. If the unit's destroyed, this is removed. If Spain and the Ottomans go to peace, this is removed. So, just a very weird thing. It should be like, set it aside, which is how I'm going to play it, actually. Okay, unused treasures, there aren't any. No loaned naval. Naval units return to their nearest ports. Well, I guess we will gather the entire Ottoman fleet here. The English. London's up here. I guess we'll just put them on Plymouth. It really doesn't matter. And I think that's all my fleets. Okay, leaders have to go back to fortified spaces. I will do that. Yeah. Wait, return leaders and units, yeah. Which I believe means that the Ottomans have to withdraw. Let's find the wording on that. Land and sea zones. Okay. And enemy units are ignored. Paths can be traced over any number of sea zones without friendly naval unit being present. They may trace through allied spaces. Okay. So the Turks pull all the way back to Istanbul. Why? Because I can do a spring redeployment forward if need be. But I don't know what's going to happen. We might end up at peace, whatever. There might be good reason for us to do that. The Spaniards are leaving a unit back in Naples, a strength point in Naples, and pulling the rest back to Madrid because of this problem. Again, I will be able to redeploy all the way back to Naples if need be. I could have actually gone to Milan. That's my other capital. And I'm not allowed to leave Milan, though. And I'm only allowed 1 spring redeployment, so I can't get like that extra strength point out of Milan. Let me look to other countries. The English are, obviously the French are going to fall back probably to Paris, but the English, well, there is no real harm to me pulling back to London. I can always redeploy back. Do I want to be in Bristol with this. I think I'd rather gather my forces here in London. Because then I can redeploy all the way back up there if desired or whatever. The French, do I want to leave a strength point here in Calais? Again, I don't think so, because I would like to be able to deploy further out. But I think I'm going to actually pull this unit from Orleans to join me there. I'll leave the one in Bordeaux, because that's actually doing me something. This one's not. It would if there's a rebellion, but right now I'm short on troops. Let me consider the HRE as well. Major power alliances, and now we get a regular troop to each controlled capital, but the HRE has an additional option at 20.6. What does that say? Each power adds a regular to capital. If not an arrest, Spain and the Protestants get checked both their capitals and get a regular each. You know, the one exception is the HRE. You can choose two alternatives. The other options are either to add 2 mercenaries to his capital or move the mercenaries for hire from the 0 to 4. I've gathered quite a bit of forces here. Let's see if I can remember to trade my mercenaries away this time. Or am I likely to want to go to war with the Ottomans? What did I hold? I have a nice combat card. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll take the mercenaries and probably forget them again, because they did me no fucking good last time. There are no pirate sea markers, Spanish and Portuguese treasures. So the Portuguese all just go back. But the Spanish, I think, all show up in Spain. Although maybe there's a die roll or something. Remove all piracy markers from the treasure. Then all treasures still on the Spanish row are added to the Spanish hand. Yeah. Okay. And that gets me a shit ton. Now the card draw, if it's like Tanto Monte, happens immediately. But in order to figure that out, I got to go to another place. Treasures. Okay, see section 11 for a complete description of how bop, bop, bop all over the place. Section 11 does not talk about the cards. They're expended during an impulse in much the same manner as cards are played. See 11. Section 11 is the action phase. What does it talk about with treasures? Has extending the impulse with a treasure. Okay. So I could play a treasure to activate one of its effects, including draw an extra card. This is different from Tanto Monte. In Tanto Monte, if you get a draw card, you get it immediately. All right. There's no espionage, diplomacy reset. All of these go back to their starting locations. Meaning that you have to expend points to get the same kind of effects. You don't get a carry-on of, oh, well, they're allied with me, they should stay allied with me. Of course, they will stay allied with you unless somebody does something to trigger, through an event or whatever, to trigger a diplomatic action. Check for Catholic League. I think the answer is it doesn't happen. Because the Protestants don't control anything in France at all. There are Protestant locations, but they're not controlled by the Protestants. And we need more of this. Okay, we're going to pause for a bit. We'll get to the marriage in a moment. The marriages. To resolve a marriage, each power rolls one die and adds the current eligibility rating of their royal that was wed. If both royals are from the same power, use the higher of the two eligibility ratings. Add 2 more if the wedding festivities is there. The bride's sum is added to the groom's to get a total. So basically you roll 2 dice and add their numbers. Now their numbers may not be the ones in here. They're going to be the ones off this track here. So let's do this one first, I guess. Well, actually, technically, we should do Philip's first. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 dice. 17. Founders of a dynasty, at last a royal family on which the entire nation can look with pride. They and their offspring will rule for generations to come. Each power gets 2 wedding VP. And we have to hunt these out. So, that is France and Spain each get 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Covered there. This goes back to France in case they want to play it. But +1 Valois marriage VP when she married. So we look for, where's the Valois marriage? We take Elizabeth and we put her here, and she's worth an extra victory point for them. And Philip is also gone. And I don't know where to put him. He's going to go in a bag or something. I'll figure that out later. And these cards are gone. They are a concluded marriage. Okay. Now we go to this one, which is just +3. 8 and 3 is 11. No issue. The couple struggles through miscarriages and the birth of sickly children who never lived to celebrate their first birthday. No royal heir comes from the match. This is not a cancellation. I believe they're both gone from the marriage pool at this point. These are additional implications. Marriage bonuses. I don't think anything happens. The Valois would get a marriage bonus for this, but I think Anne of Saxony and William of Savoy are now, William of Orange are now also gone from the marriage pool. Okay. Elizabeth is unmarried and available to be wed, so she gets a victory point for the Virgin Queen. It's on the other side. Just another 1-pointer going over here. And now they age. Each turn, the unmarried royals age. Move all unmarried females down 1 rating. Females are pink. That's the only pink left. And for males, on a 5 or 6, they get to keep their rating where it is. So let's start with this side. Oh, Lester has special rules though. He stays, yeah, he stays at a 1 as long as Elizabeth's in there. Okay. So what do we check? We check Earl of Arran. On a 5 or a 6, he survives. He does. So he will go into the pool, or stay in the pool. Don Carlos stays where he is. And Charles of Austria drops 1. So he's now just a 1 on there, which is going to be hard to remember because it's, you know, so clear on the card. But it does say the turn that they showed up, which will help. Okay. Some can die due to events or assassination. Okay, no issue there. Now we go to patronage. I need a sip of tea. So now we evaluate the artists. Roll 2 dice and add the artist rating and modifiers for CP. Prague Cultural Center marker can have an effect on this. Being married to Clara Eugenia, who's not in the game yet. And we start with the highest rating printed on counter to lowest. And then impulse order. Okay. So let's see what we got here. The highest rated artist. We got a 3 and a 3. The Protestants go after the HRE. So he's going to go first at 3, 4. Let's see what we get. 8 and 4 is 12. Wide acclaim. Gain any 1 victory point award. Any? I think it's got to be the right type. Oh. No. They all just say artist on them if they're 1s. So the Holy Romans get a 1 point, which is expressed here. And he is now gone from the pool. And then we go to the next 3, which is over here. That's just a +3. That's a 12 again. That means the Dutch get a 1 victory point award for an artist, a generic artist. There we go. And we go to the next one, which is this 2, who's a +3 for Titian. 3 and 3 is 6. Fled the country. He took patronage money, removed from game. Okay. And then the final one is a +3 for Arcimboldo. I don't know him. Ooh. That's a 13. Signature piece, gain a victory point. Award of up to 2 victory points. Now he is a painter. So the HRE is going to get 2 more victory points over here for a painter as well as an artist. That is all the ones that were purchased. This victory point pool is limited. Now, I think it's pretty much the same thing here. Each power can spend evaluation during patronage. You roll 2 dice and add the scientist rating and modifiers. Prague, observatory, being married to Isabella. And we go again from highest to lowest and then impulse order. So we look for our highest valued one, and that's John D, who will be at +3. He gets a 12 over here. Groundbreaking, gain a victory point award or a bonus. Okay, a victory point award is a 1 victory point award or a bonus. Let's take a look at the different bonuses and consider whether England wants to take any of these. Coastal fortifications not available to them. Cryptography, I don't know what espionage is going to do. Dry dock. Naval losses immediately return to the force pool. That would mean I wouldn't go on there. That's a powerful advantage. I would be able to keep regenerating my fleet. That sounds really, really valuable for dealing with the Armada. Map projection would help me in navigation rolls over here. From what I've seen, I don't really think I need navigation rolls that terribly. Plantation. Oh, observatory +2 to all science rolls. Return the scientist to pool. This is the best one, I think. So I am going to take this. That puts D back here. And I look for the observatory. And I'll put this up here for England to remind them. We go to the next one. That'll be Herrera for Spain at +2. 14. Scientific Epiphany. Gain a victory point bonus award and a bonus, or gain a 2 victory point award. I want to take the bonus. Plantation's not usable for me. Ravelin, roll an extra die when the defender in an assault. That's kind of appealing. Telescope. Coastal fortifications, I'm the only one who can get this, but since I'm the only one who can get it, I probably don't want to grab that. I'm most interested in the dry dock, so I am going to take a 1 victory point science award and the dry dock for Spain. I could have taken 2 victory points of award, but the difference isn't big enough, and I expect Spain to start losing some ground very shortly. And that will get rid of Herrera. There's nothing, yeah, the observatory is the only one that allows you, I think, to get the leader back. Now I go to Mercator. That's a 9. Still working. He's returned to the pool. Now we go up here. The 1s, the Turkish 1 is a +3. That's a 13. That again gives me a reward and a bonus. I think the bonus is worth taking at this point. Is there anything that I would love to get the dry dock, but there's only 1 of each. I don't have a lot of colonies with the Turks. In fact, nobody has a lot. The French and English each have 2. So, you know, that +1, that free colony each time, that's just a couple of card points, honestly. But you can squeeze in, like for a 1-point card, you can launch a fleet, an exploration squad with a colony instead of for 2. But honestly, it really is just a couple of points. I think I am going to go with the excavation and go for the Suez Canal. So he goes away. There it is. And I'll take a victory point as well. Over here for the Turks. These sea captains have advantages too. What is, who do I have right now? I have Hawkins. Does he have anything special going for him? Creates, oh yeah. Yeah, Hawkins has to be present to build the race-built galleons. That gets us to Latetsu, who's at +2. That's a 10. I can gain a victory point award or a bonus. I think I will take the Ravelin, because I suspect I'm going to be involved in a decent amount of combats, rather than the victory point. Will I remember this? Probably not. That's going to be hard to remember. Roll 1 extra die when a defender in an assault. That's really cool though, because it'll give me 2 dice even on a nothing. And then our final one is a +2 for the Dutch. With a 7, distracted by astrology, he's removed from the game if rated 1, otherwise returned to pool. There he goes. My battery is almost dead. Let's see where we go next. Patronage, evaluate. Grant victory point for control of Paris and Central Europe. 25.3. Well, the French have Paris, but I don't know if they get 1 or 2 points for this. So we have to find this. Paris. Gain 2 of France political control. It is turn 5, 6, or 7, and Charles IX or Henry III is French ruler. Otherwise, France gets a 1. So they get a victory point. And you can see that 25 victory points, that's going to get there. I mean, we're not going to finish the game. This was something that bothered me kind of about Here I Stand as well. I think, was that you aren't going to necessarily get to the end of the game, and it's not a matter of letting someone get ahead by too much, the way that they do in the coin games. Especially when there's extra cards and everything. If the game very seldomly makes it to turn 6 or 7, it feels like I'm just not, like there's too much time in the game, you know, that the victory points aren't balanced right to get you to the end of the game. It just feels like it should generally get you there unless somebody fucks up. That's my feeling, at least. I don't know how much I'm bothered by it, but okay, so that's the Paris victory points. The other is Central Europe. They do not have the Master of Central Europe. And that gets us to the end of the turn, and we'll be going to turn 2. But that's the end of this video. I'll load it up. What's happened? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the Turks made an abortive attack over here, which was foolish. They should have gone for Malta. They caused some disruption here. The Dutch caused some disruption. The English have grabbed most of Scotland, but Ireland's in revolt. Other than that, not a lot. But a lot of victory points have been accumulated. And this is a real problem for the Protestants, who aren't even on the map yet and barely have any points at all, while they're watching everyone else just generating all these excess points coming from weddings and whatnot. There's a lot of points kicking around that are just flowing in for, you know, in a way, like, the base of the game gives you a certain amount of victory points, and you can kind of control that by who grabs what keys and whatever. But then there's these additional victory points that just accumulate on you from all these counters. And I don't know if it's worse in this than it is in Here I Stand. But it definitely feels like the game will not reach sort of the further end of the game track. Now, maybe that's okay. Let me see how far do these go. Turn 5 is the last turn where new cards are added. Turn 5 is the last turn where new leaders and characters are added to the game. So there's kind of a, yeah, as long as the game makes it through turn 5, I'd feel comfortable. And I don't mind, like in that last game, where someone pulls a victory out of nowhere, right? That's okay. Like, if you get a victory because other people didn't stop you from achieving your military goals or whatever, that's fine. But look at Spain here. Well, they started at like 17, and they've lost a couple. So they haven't really gained anything. That seems wrong. Why is it? I think it's because the number of Protestant spaces has canceled out some of their victory points as well. Because they've got like 3 from just bonus chits and whatnot. All right, let's send this up.